Hello everyone, welcome back again to Angela's Craft Room. Today I've got this lovely card for you. I've used the stamp set Beautiful You, and what I've done is I've only stamped the top part of the lady to her waistline, and then I've extended her dress down so it looks a bit more like a bride. Or it could be just a lady with a long dress, really. So I have seen on Pinterest this technique done for quite a while now, and I've been dying to give it a go, but I am no way am I an artist, and I was very nervous drawing in the lines, so let's hope I can do it again for you today. So the stamp set is lovely as it's Beautiful You, it's Beautiful You, and you get these three ladies with a lot of sentiments and a couple of background stamps. So the stamp set that I'm going to be using today, the image, is this one here. So that's the stamp set, just so that you know. And so we'll just pop that card over to the side. Just have a piece of grid paper. Now the base of the card I'm doing is blushing bride cardstock, which measures 11 inches by 4 1/8 of an inch wide and scored at 5.5 inches. And then on top of that I'm going to put a piece of DSP. Now this one is retired now, but it was called Springtime Foils, and that measures 5 3/8 of an inch by 4 inches because I wanted it to really cover most of the blushing bride cardstock. So I'm just going to glue that on first, and then that is out of the way. As I said, I've seen a lot of people doing this extended dress, but I was quite nervous doing it because I've never been an artist in the way of drawing. So, but I was quite pleased how it did turn out. So I'm just going to put that down. I'm just eyeballing it. So it is, this piece of DSP, it's more like a cardstock, and they've done the design on top of it. But you could use any DSP that you've got in your stash, because I'm into using up all my DSP into my stash before I buy any more. And I don't have that much left actually, so I've done quite well. So just got a bit of glue there, so I was just using my adhesive eraser to just remove that glue that just got onto there. So I'm just going to put that aside, and then I'm using a piece of Whisper White, which is 5 1/4 inches by 3 7/8. And then I'm going to put a panel. This is for inside the card. Instead of stamping an image, I thought I'd put a panel of the DSP, and that measures 5 1/4 inches by 1.5. So I'm just going to glue that down the side, and then just pop that straight inside our card. I just think it's nice to have something in your card rather than just the blank white. So I usually stamp an image or put a panel of cardstock something like that, because I do make a lot of cards for my YouTube channel and also for my blog. So most of my cards that you see me, got a bit of glue there, but most of the cards that I make to show you on my YouTube channel are, I do blog them onto my blog as well. So I always have the link to my blog underneath in the comments. You might have to click on see more to get the link, but I don't do it directly to the post, I just do it to my blog. But there is a magnifying glass on my blog, and you can always search by name. So if you put in Beautiful You, it would bring up all the Beautiful You cards that are on my blog. And this one definitely is on my blog. So then I'm just going to glue that in. This glue's just about run out. But I have another one ready just in case. Nothing worse than it running out when you're doing a tutorial. So I'll just straighten up that card a bit, and I'm just going to place that as straight as I can in there, and I'm just going to carefully bring that down and rub it, and then that will adhere that piece. Not sure if that's a little bit of glue there as well. The only thing with the foil DSP, you've got to be careful using the adhesive eraser on it, because you can leave a mark. So there's the inside of our card done, all ready to write on, and that's the front so far. So then I have a piece of Very Vanilla, and that measures 2 1/4 inches by 4 inches, and that's going to be matted onto this piece of Early Espresso, which measures 2 1/2 by 4 1/4. But to start with, what we want to do is stamp the lady onto here. So I've got it on my acrylic block. So then I'm just going to grab my VersaFine Onyx Black little cube ink, and I'm just going to be very careful, and just because, as you know, the ones that watch my tutorials all the time, I do use the Stamparatus or a Misty tool, and it gives me the luxury of stamping, restamping I should say, if I don't get a good coverage. But by doing it this way, I have to get it right first time. So I just want to go down to her waistline. So if I just show you, you can see that I've only inked to about there. I'm not inking her whole dress down there. I'm just inking to there. So just make sure I've got make sure you ink into her. Make sure her hands and arms are inked well. And we'll see how we go. So now we're just going to stamp that to the top. Try not to rock it, just a nice even firm, because once I bring it up I can't put it down again. So I'm quite happy with that for one that doesn't normally use acrylic blocks. So you can see there that I only stamped just under her bust line. And then what I do is, you can use, if you've got a Project Life marker, you could use for that. I don't. So I've got this, just this art line. It's a fine tip. So it's quite fine. So if you've got something like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw in her dress. So just one. I did shake a bit there, but that's all right. And then I'm going to go down. Shouldn't do it upside down. So there you've got the dress. So then all we have to do is colour it in. Now you can do it on watercolour paper. I've seen most people do it on watercolour paper and then they watercolour her in. But I like to use my Stampin' Up Blend Alcohol Markers. So I'm going to use the ivory one first, just to do her face and arms. And the challenge here with this stamp is because her arm, I'll show you on the, her arm here, this arm here isn't fully, doesn't have a full image. So you've got to sort of guess where you're going to colour it. So you've got to be a little bit careful. So I usually just do up round the hand area there. And then I do down here because it's got a guide to where, that's where the elbow is. And then if you go up this side first and then just come down, and I just like to keep adding a little bit very carefully, because there's no line there. You're creating the line. So then she's got her sleeve down to the on the other arm. So I'm just literally doing her wrist very carefully and her hand. And the same thing as her hand, it's quite sketchy, so you have to just imagine where you want that colour to be. And then I'm just going to do her face, which is just underneath her hat. And then just her underneath her hair there, down to the beginning of her dress. So that is all skin there. So I'm not doing any blending because it's just such a small area, it wouldn't be worth it. So you can see that's the skin part, so we'll pop that one away. And then I'm going to just put the lid on my ink there. Now we're going to use Pink Pirouette to do her dress. So what I like to do is I like to start off with the light one first. So I'm just going to go over her dress. The top part is very easy. It's the bottom that is the challenge, because because we've added those lines to make it a long dress now, it's a bit of a challenge to get a nice even textured look with your colours right to the bottom of the dress. This top part's the easy part. Now with the top part, if you wanted to, you could bring in a bit of the dark on the bust line there and on the sleeve, and then you would just bring back in the light and just at the bottom there where the dark finishes, just blend it out until you don't have any more lines. Just gives you a little bit of different colour tone. Just over there on the dress, on the sleeve I should say. Just wherever you want it. So that's the top part. Now this is where it gets hard. Oh, it's not really hard, but you just got to be careful. So I find the best way, I don't try and go a stroke all the way down to the bottom. I sort of go halfway first. So I find the best way to colour this dress is long strokes. So that's why I use the light one first. And I'm not doing any blending. If you wanted to, you could actually add pleats and do some blending that way if you're that way inclined. So I'll just grab there. So this is just the first part. It's not hard. But I find doing these long strokes, because I'm not watercolouring, I'm using the markers, I find this the easiest way to colour the long dress. So that's not too bad. So now I'm going to take the darker, and I'm just going to go down that side, not all the way, and then I'm just going to blend it out. So, not sure if you can see, but that has become darker. And then I'm just going to do this side. So I'm just adding really another coat. I'm not really blending, I'm just adding another coat because the pink pirouette is very light colour. So if you wanted to add another line down there and another line down there, you could, and blend and make it like more like a pleat. I'd be really interested to hear from you to let me know how you go. I'm not going to go right down to the bottom there. I'm just going to add a little bit of dark there and just blend that out to get rid of that line. Once the line, when you can't see a distinctive line, that's when you've blended it out. So it just adds a bit of tone to the dress. Just do a bit more in there just under the bust. So then I'm just going to use the dark on her hat. You could do a hat another colour. I mean, being a bride, you can't really colour it white, so there we go there. Just pop the caps straight back on so they don't dry out. So then we've got the lady there. Okay, so then we're going to bring back in that piece of early espresso, and I'm just going to pop her onto that. Find my glue. Just grab a cotton bud. It's just a bit of a blob over there that I don't want it to. So now I'm just going to pop that onto the early espresso. And I think it's better to stamp her, when you're doing this technique, stamp her on a piece of very vanilla. It's just, I don't know, it just seems, it tones it down a little bit rather than stamping it on Whisper White. Because you know you're not going to be sponging all around her, so then we're going to bring in our card that way, and I'm just going to glue her onto the card where I want it to be. You could put her on, you could put it on with stamping dimensionals if you really wanted it to sit up on the card. You can see that I'm shaking this because it's just about finished. Okay, so it's just a matter of putting her where I want her to be, because I want to be able to fit my sentiment. So I'm going to put her right over here. Doesn't have to be equal top and bottom or anything. It's just as long as she's straight. That's always a bonus. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add some pearls before I do this, before I show you how I did the sentiment. I'm just going to add some pearls. So what I want is, I want a big one up there, a big one down here. And I did do like 3 on my original one, 3 down there and 3 up there, but I think for something different I'm just going to put one big one in each corner, because I don't use the big ones that much, so just for something different. I'm going to pop that like that, I've decided. Now with the sentiment, I've already used Special Celebration stamp set, and I've stamped For the Bride, and I'm just going to put some dimensionals on the back of there, and they just fit. So we'll put about 3 on the back of there. Peel them off, so we're just about finished. So then on my little piece of early espresso, I just want to center that as much as I can. Just press down on the dimensionals. Then we're just going to add that to our card, which will also be on Stampin' Dimensionals. So just pop that on there. So I find the Beautiful You stamp set and the Lovely as a Tree, High Tide, they're most probably my top 3 cards that I do, stamp sets I should say, that I do use a lot, because you can do so much with them. I like buying stamp sets that I can really get a lot out of them. So there we go there. And we're just going to press down on the dimensionals, and that's our card done. So that's my attempt of doing the long dress. So I'm sure you'll do much better than me, but just so you know how they do it, that's how they do it. And as I said before, most people do it with watercolouring paper and an aqua brush, but I just like to use my Stampin' Blend Alcohol Markers. So this is the original one, and this is the one that we've just done today. So thank you for subscribing to my channel. I really do appreciate you dropping by and seeing one of my videos. And until next time, happy crafting!